This base is the absolute most basic endgame base you can make, and it relies on three things: steel, electric fences, and you not being completely brain dead. I'm going to be showing you how to build it step by step, although not block by block, because as you can imagine, an endgame 7 Days to Die base is a lot of blocks and we'd be here for a while. So just going through each of the steps and how to build it. Now this is by no means the best base you can make in 7 Days to Die, or even the smartest base. This base is intended to be very easy for new players to copy and use and build off of in their worlds. But keep in mind that it is a late game base, that is, let's say day 35 or 42 onwards. Before that, you just don't need to build something this big. Feel free to build it earlier if you want, there's nothing stopping you, it will work. It's just you don't need to. With that out of the way, let's get into a bit of an overview of how it works, and then we'll get into the step by step of how to build it. This base is very simple. It has a staircase leading into a bridge, leading into a fighting area, which has several layers of redundancy. So if you lose that first layer, you can just go to one of the backups, and you can add even more backup layers if you want. There is an extent where that will stop working. I have not found that limit, but I find that 3 layers is perfectly fine. And of course on the roof we have vulture guards, as I call them, which is railings you can shoot through. We've got a utility room at the back here for your storage and generators or battery banks, with a ladder onto the roof if you need to run away or do some repairs on the roof. Then we have the 2 wings. These can be used to put in additional crafting and storage if you really want to, but otherwise it just houses these electric fences and keeps them secure, while stopping them from being a security liability. These electric fences massively multiply the effectiveness of your base, and that is all this base is. Really simple, just a few rooms, a couple of basic concepts. Now, a few people always ask this when I make my horde base videos, and it's a valid question. They say, where is the crafting area and storage? Isn't that the point of a base? And the answer is no. The point of a horde base is to protect you on horde night from the horde. There's no reason to risk your valuable items and crafting stations all in the same location. It's not like the zombies are going to be walking around trying to get into your house to pick a fight with your storage containers. But if you do want this base to be dual purpose anyway, there is plenty of potential to connect this to a larger storage room with crafting and a bedroll and all the stuff you need. Or you can even find ways to sort of just cram those things into this base. There's a decent amount of empty space just because of the way I've built it. So let's move on to the step by step. Step 1 is build a 3x6 foundation like this. You should put this 1 block into the terrain so that it's more resistant to demolition zombies. That's going to be more important on a late game base like this than it would have been on my other one. If you want to be extra safe, double the height of this foundation so that it's too thick, and then put it 2 into the ground. That will just make sure that your base is absolutely secured. Step 2 is build 5 blocks up from the end of the foundation and fill the rest of the space in diagonally with stairs to create your staircase. Step 3 is now we want to build a 3 wide, 8 long, 2 tall bridge out from the top of the staircase. But you want to put up this 3 wide pillar at the other end first, just to make sure you don't break the bridge while building it. So 3 wide pillar at this end, 8 blocks away from the other end, and then fill it in with a bridge. Step 4 is you're now going to build an 11x5 wall behind that bridge, leaving a 3x3 gap in line with the bridge. This is going to be the outside of our defensive area. Now step 5 is to fill in this gap we just left with something I call the Wayward Echo Barricade. You use a railing like this, you use plates like this, and you use the small I-beams like this. This item is called I-beam small. If you just search I-beam, it won't come up. You need I-beam. I say that because a lot of people were having a hard time finding it in the last video. That's probably why. You can just search for beam and it will be there. Then we want to place our hatches along the top so that you can get in and out by opening and closing them. I would recommend that you either start with wood or vault hatches, because you want the hatch to sit on the block above you with the hinges facing towards the outside. This will make it so that the hatch opens outwards the way you want it to, and it's a lot easier to see the hinges on wood or vault hatches. For step 6, you want to add in a layer of plates along the front of the defensive wall, but on the top block you want it to be a row of cube half plate corners. That's mostly aesthetic, but it will ensure that zombies aren't going to be climbing over your roof, which can be a problem in a lot of base designs. Step 7 is to add your first defensive module. You want to turn this wall into a 5x5 cube that you can stand in, not including the padding. You'll want to fill in the bottom part as much as you can to make your base as sturdy as you can possibly make it, but the top area you want to leave open so that you can fight in it with the sides covered. Step 8 is to look up and add the vulture railings, make it so that they are flush with the outside of the roof, and this will let you shoot at vultures without letting them hit you. From above or below, it should look like a 3x3 plate of bars. Step 9 is to add in another Wayward Echo barricade. I call it the Wayward Echo barricade because I stole it from him when we did the Totally Not Prepared stream series. It's a good design, sue me. He knows, he doesn't care. At this point, you have a basic base that will hold pretty late into the game if you make it steel especially. Everything from here is just making it go further and further into the game. Step 10 is to add in another module like we did before, including the vulture rails and barricade. It should look like this from above, this from the side, and the inside should look like this. Hopefully that should help you visualize it better, because I know these tutorials can be quite difficult to follow. Then step 11, you want to add in some side stairs to help the zombies climb up your stairs. It's a small benefit, a lot of people believe it doesn't even do anything, but I do it all the time, it costs almost nothing to do it, so I'm just gonna say do that. Skip it if you want, I don't care. Step 12 is to add another module, again the same size, but this time we're going to leave the sides open and fill in the back wall with blocks and a vault door. Now this space that you have here will serve even later into the game on its own, especially with steel. Make sure you've got 3 layers of Wayward Echo barricades and you'll be fine. Step 13 is the utility room. You're going to pull out another 3x5 room, and inside it you're going to place any generators, batteries, whatever, a wire relay, and any crates or possibly crafting it that you might want during Horde night. I usually keep a bunch of spare steel, forged iron, electrical parts, ammo, explosives, and meds in here. And you'll want an escape ladder to the roof and the best hatch you can make whenever you're building this. Step 14 is to add another 5x4 module, but this time instead of building it up from the ground, we're going to use a 2x1 pillar. That is because you shouldn't be standing on this part of the base at any point during the Horde night. It's just there to transition into another area, so there should be no reason the zombies decide to hit that pillar, so you don't have to have it be very strong. Fill in the outer walls of this new module, but leave room for a door on the front wall. Step 15 is just to mirror this on the other side, exactly the same, just flipped. Step 16 is, from the first module you just built there, you want to build out a 3x19 bridge, using 2x1 pillars every 2 blocks like this. Step 17, you can probably guess, mirror it on the other side. Now step 18 is we're adding the covers for the bridge, and this is kind of one of the more complicated parts. This part entails a 5x3 wall added on top of the end of the bridge like this. Then on the outer side, you want to add in a wall of plates. These will give you more space inside to move, but they won't let you place any more blocks. And then you want to place 9 electric fences at the end of the bridge in the center, and then build another plate wall on the other side, but this time we're going to leave space for hatches to go in front of the electric fences. These will be used to open them up and connect the fences together on each side so that you can always rewire them easily. Next we want to fill in the roof with just normal blocks, and on the outside fill the gap between the 2 roofs here with just normal blocks, then use wedge 60s near the bridge. This is mostly decorative but it annoys me, so we're doing it. Skip that if you want. And step 19 is just do all of this and mirror it on the other side. Now for step 20, this is another kind of optional one. You want to add in beams like this using half cubes. This is mostly aesthetic, but it does serve to keep zombies from being blown up onto the roof by explosives. Step 21 is to add in your roof relays. I use 3, I use 1 near the hatch, 1 near the front of the base, and 1 on the left bridge. We're going to have our electric fences primarily wired from the left. You can do this on the right if you prefer, but I'm right-handed, so it feels more natural to me when I have to run to the right to repair the fences, because the electric fences which receive the electrical current are the ones that get damaged by being used. So running to my right to fix it feels more natural. Step 22 is to wire all this up. You want to wire your generator to your internal relay to that outside one, and then wire that to your front one, and then that front one to your left one, and then your left one into each of your electric fences individually. Don't wire them to each other because it'll just make them dependent on each other and you don't want that. Wire them all from the relay individually. You might need some temporary blocks to do that. And then all of the electric fences on the left, you want to wire them up to the corresponding one on the right. Head back to your generator, add in any engines or gas you have, and remember that if you turn that on now, your electric fences will be turned on. Feel free to add a switch in this system somewhere if you prefer to be able to turn it off with just the switch. This base doesn't need that because I've added no lights, no different traps, so it just goes direct to the electric fences. But when your electric fences are connected to power, they will do damage to and slow anything that runs through them. And as you can see, we have 9 layers of electric fence, and let me tell you, it is extremely powerful. But it also works on you, so make sure you turn it off when you're done. And that is the base basically done. You want to close the fence hatches, you want to close the front hatches, and then turn on the power and you are set, you are secure. Now some things to note, repairing this base throughout the night with steel at the front and repairing your electric fences will make it borderline unbeatable. But even if you don't, it should hold against pretty much anything in the vanilla game unless you're boosting the zombie block damage, which if you're doing that, you're probably not the kind of person who's looking for a horde base tutorial, you're probably trying to test yourself, which is fair. And this video isn't for that. But Insane Nightmare, 64 zombies max game stage, this base should hold if you have all the things that you would have for that, including good guns, some explosives, and some materials. Just make sure to keep the hatches and the metal parts of the barricade reinforced, and it should just hold. It should be strong enough. You can choose to repair the electric fences throughout the night. Without repairing them, they'll last a few hours before they're gone, and horde nights are only 6 hours anyway by default, so they'll cover you for most of the horde night even if you don't repair them. Just remember to bring yourself forged iron and electrical parts to fix those electric fences, and either concrete or steel or whatever material you're building this out of to repair it as well. Again, this is a mid to late game base, so you shouldn't really be hurting for any of these basic materials or weapons and ammo. This final version of the base will hold against the absolute hardest hordes you can fight in 7 Days to Die's base game. It's not completely idiot proof, you can mess it up if you keep hitting the demo zombies, which is why it never hurts to have a backup base if you're hundreds of days into the game, because that can just happen. But if you keep firing and repairing and even using explosives, it'll hold. Feel free to add your own blade traps, turrets, spikes, whatever you want to do to make it more effective. But this right here is completely fine and it will hold against anything. And to prove that, we're gonna test it. Now, I've got a few rules for the test. It's a day 7000 horde. Yes, stuffy old men in the comments. I do know that a day 7000 horde is exactly the same as a day 700 horde, but it's like the meme, it's the tradition, it's the thing, we just do it. Stop ruining the parties you go to. And it's gonna be Insane Nightmare with 64 max spawns. They're gonna have base block damage because I feel like very few people play with the block damage turned up anyway. I can use whatever weapons and perks I want since this is me testing the final form of the base against the hardest hordes in the game, so logically I should have endgame gear. I'm choosing to use a sledgehammer and an auto shotgun with armor piercing shells. I'll have some meds, food and water. I'm choosing not to repair the base at all during the night. You should repair the base throughout the night, but I have to not repair the base because those stuffy old men I mentioned earlier will complain that I'm using the video game's mechanics to beat the video game. Scandalous, I know. It'll hold anyway, so it doesn't matter. I've used this base dozens of times myself, and I've tested it like 5 or 6 times for this video. I'm giving myself 20 pipe bombs because insane zombies are very beefy, so they do clump up sometimes, and if they clump up, it's not only going to do a lot of damage to the base, which is kind of unfair because I can just use explosives, but more importantly, it'll just completely chug my frames, which isn't good for anybody to watch. But I'm not going as far as to do what I would normally actually do when I do horde nights, which is pretty much exclusively use explosives and just craft like 100 pipe bombs and be done with it. It's a very strong strategy that I feel like would make the base seem stronger than it actually is. Contact grenades though and explosive crossbow bolts are just completely too strong, so I won't be using them at all in this. Same with the rocket launcher. So even with one arm tied behind my back, this base will be able to hold against a day 7000 horde. So let's get started and show you. Okay, so here we are in the base in my test world. I've got my auto shotgun with a bunch of armor-piercing shells. Ammo shouldn't really be a limitation for you in the late game, same with food and medicine, that's not really a test of the base. I've got my sledgehammer, and I've got my club. You can see what mods they have if you're interested. I have all the perks in the game currently. Most of them will not come into play in this horde base anyway, it's mostly my damage. Wearing steel armor, again, it really shouldn't come into play. And, oh, I forgot to give myself pipe bombs. 1 second. There we go. Stack of pipe bombs. Creative mode off. Okay, and we've got my pipe bombs. And a couple of spare electric fences. I won't be using those. I don't want to go out there and during the horde anyway. Right, the power is on. Let's set this to day 7000 and test out the base. 7,220. There we go, it is Insane Nightmare, 64 max spawns. Let's see how the base holds with no repairs and not excessive explosive spam anyway. Ah, hello. See, these electric fences really slow them down, particularly on this nightmare speed. Doesn't quite catch dogs, but some minor modifications can fix that for you. This is being done in the Alpha 20 version of the game anyway, which means that dogs wouldn't even really be affected by it anyway. In Alpha 21 it will though. To avoid this video being extremely long, I am going to skip through a lot of the action because it is just going to be mostly this. But I'll speed it up so that you can see everything that I'm doing just faster. Oh, we got our first demo. Make sure to headshot those, we do not want them exploding. The base can take some of it, but you really don't want to test it too much. Oh, we got a cop pop, that's kind of useful actually. Clears them all off the bridge. And with the way this is built, the cop explosion shouldn't be damaging the electric fences at all. If they were, we would have just seen that happen, so it seems to not be an issue. It's around about this part of a horde night I would look into maybe going into the wings for a couple of minutes and repairing the electric fences on my right. They would mostly be caught in the fences for all that time anyway, and then when you come back, if there's any clumps up here, you can just pipe bomb them. But I'm not going to be repairing this base for this test. Yeah, see, the electric fence effect doesn't seem to do much to them. But I'm not allowed to repair for this base just for the demonstration, so there's no point in me doing that at all, I don't have to worry. But if you're playing this at home, you probably should start doing it about now. It'll just make it way easier for you. I'm not sure why we're getting absolutely no vultures, but we're getting a lot of dogs, so it seems like that's just what the game wants to send our way today. Vultures are very easy to deal with though, just look up and shoot them, it's genuinely, completely not a problem. Yeah, they're starting to get through those fences now. Still, we've only got 3 hours left of this particular horde night, so doing well so far, I'd say. So we're like 3 hours into the horde night, and the zombies are only now just about to start actually hitting the base, which is extremely good, I would say. Because even if you're playing on very high block damage percentages, this base won't even take damage until a few hours into the horde night. And again, that's only if you're not repairing the electric fences, which, just repair the electric fences. I'm just not allowed to because of YouTube, you know. if you do things properly, people complain. Oh, I think we stopped that demo from exploding there. Not that it would do much. The bridge is made out of steel and it's like too thick, so it should hold. Well, it's daytime, we've technically survived, but let's see if we can clear out the rest of the horde here. I think it's still Insane Nightmare during the day, I'm actually not sure, but all of these are feral and radiated anyway, so they'll probably be nightmare speed as it is. Yeah, it looks like the ferals and radiateds are still at least nightmare speed. Someone's definitely beating on something down there, that's kind of just inevitable when you're not going for an absolute masterpiece of a base and you're just going for something simple, you're gonna take hits on the side. My ears feel very strange. Right, let me go turn off the power and we'll take a look at the damage here. Have a look here. Lots of bags. Any lost blocks? It looks like they put a couple of hits into the padding here on their way down, but that is padding. It literally doesn't matter. They also seem to have taken a few swings at this. If they had broken that, it would not have collapsed because there's a bunch of extra structural support anyway. I remember another time I did this, they broke into the side of here and took out a few blocks, but nothing of value was damaged or lost. Nothing on the back. Nothing on the left side at all. They must have been spawning on the right side of the base primarily. This side looks fine. Let me get myself a nail gun so we can assess how much damage we took there. Nail gun. So, okay, they barely even scratched it, and that is on 100% block damage from the zombies. Yeah, they were so held back by these electric fences and my shotgun for so long, they genuinely did nothing. Now, there have been a few times where they've pushed me back to, like, here, but that was mainly with demo explosions making everything go wrong. Even on some of the absolute worst cases I've had with this base, I don't think I've ever been pushed out of it properly. On an older version of the base though, I used to not use double thick bridges and that one had some problems, so I would recommend too thick on your bridge here so that there's always a way for the zombies to get in. Because if there isn't a way for the zombies to get in, they will just start beating on the sides and they will eventually cause some problems. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with its performance. There's damage everywhere because of cop pops, but nothing significant. And if we go look at the electric fences, that is not supposed to be there. That one is still functional, that one's broken, 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 and that one's broken. Very, very cheap to repair though. It's a couple of forged iron and electrical parts per fence. Standard settings, you shouldn't have any problems keeping ammo for this base and keeping materials for this base. Now, if you're playing with very high block damage or you're going for like horde night every night, you might want to look for a horde base that requires a lot less resources. But for your average player on a single player world or even a multiplayer world, doing standard stuff, this base will hold if you just don't shoot the demo buttons. Because it causes problems with any base. There's very few base designs where demos aren't a problem. Back to me in the past, or the future, or is it the past? I don't know. Back to me. Now this base is of course intended for later in the game. If you want a cheap and easy and reliable horde base for your first few horde nights in the game, you can click this video here. Check it out if you're looking for something a little bit more compact. Thank you to my channel members and patrons for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.